Good evening, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Here we present to you 7 o'clock news bulletin. First, the headlines. The Ministry of Interior will start tomorrow receiving electronic candidacy applications for a Shura Council election for the 9th term. Total outstanding credit stands at 25.1 billion Omani Riyals in November 2018. And Duqm Electricity Generation Company signs 5 agreement to establish integrated electricity and water plant in Duqm. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The Minister of Interior will start tomorrow receiving electronic candidacy applications for Shura Council elections for the 9th term till Thursday, 21st of February. The last date for the withdrawal of candidacy will be on Thursday, 22nd of August 2019. The ministry pointed out that citizens who wish to be candidates for the membership of Shura Council for the 9th term and meet the conditions of candidacy as per Article 34 of Shura Council membership election law shall submit their applications through the electronic website of the election, attaching all required documents. It's worth mentioning that no applications will be accepted after the determined date or submitted through other than the mentioned means. The banking activities gained further traction in line with pickup in overall economic activities. In the combined balance sheet of conventional and Islamic banks, other depository corporations, total outstanding credit stood at 25.1 billion Omani Riyals as at the end of November 2018, recording a year-on-year rise of 6.5%. Credit to the private sector increased by 5.8% to 22.2 billion Riyals as at the end of November 2018. Of the total credit to the private sector, the share of non-financial corporate sector stood at 46.4%, followed by the household sector, mainly under personal loans, stood at 45.2%, financial corporations at 5.4%, and other sectors at the remaining 3%. Duqm Electricity Generation Company signed 5 agreements to establish integrated electricity and water plant in Duqm. The total cost of the projects amounted to around 480 million and will be constructed on an area of 45 hectares. It will include the establishments and operations of integrated generations, which is based on composite cycle system and natural gas, and capacity of 326 megawatt, and seawater desalination plant, which is based on reverse osmosis system with a capacity of 36,000 cubic meters daily. The construction work of the projects will continue for 46 months, and it is expected to start the first operation in the 3rd quarter of 2020. The Public Authority for Industrial Estates, Madain, will invite for tenders locally and internationally to develop Shinas and Themrit industrial estates as investment opportunities during 2019. It pointed out that the current year will witness the official opening of Samail Industrial Estate and the completion of development works of the 7th phase and the opening of service building and facilities of Suhar Industrial Estates, in addition to the start of development works in Sur, Nizwa and Buremi. The Chief Executive Officer of Madain said that it is expected that the development works will start in Mahas Industrial Estate and the one investment window will be launched in all industrial estates during the current year. The Ministry of Transport and Communications and the Information Technology Authority, in cooperation with the Implementation and Follow-up Unit, are organizing IT and Telecommunications Sector Laboratory in February at Oman Oil and Gas Institute. The lab will last for 4 weeks, with a strategic work frame that guarantees the increase in the contribution of the sector in the gross domestic product and providing job opportunities through establishing active institutional infrastructure that works to develop the sector and enhance the utilization of the resources and opportunities provided by the sector. This includes identifying the main national projects of IT and telecommunication sector to be implemented and unifying all institutional efforts to implement the national strategy for the sector 2030. The Sultanate economy continues to witness good progress and achieved an accelerated growth of 15.1% during the first half of 2018 as compared to 10.3% in the same period last year. The hydrocarbon and non-hydrocarbon sector grew by 37.1% and 5.1% respectively. The continuous policy efforts and improving business environment supported sustained expansions in non-oil economic activities. Inflation also remained benign and supportive of growth. Average annual inflation based on CPI for the Sultanate stood at 0.9% during January-November 2018. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and yet to come in our news bulletin. In Minya, south of Cairo, Egypt's Antiquities Minister announced the discovery of a collection of Ptolemaic burial chambers containing a large number of mummies. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. President Vladimir Putin today said Russia was suspending its participation in a key Cold War-era missiles treaty in a mirror response to a U.S. move the day before. Moscow and Washington have long accused the other of violating the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Agreement, which was signed in 1987 and resolved a crisis over Soviet missiles. Putin said during a meeting with Foreign and Defense Minister Sergei Lavrov and Sergei Shoigu that Russia would no longer initiate talks with the U.S. on disarmament. Brokered by U.S. President Ronald Reagan with last Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, the treaty ended a superpower build-up of warheads that had frightened Europeans. It banned ground-launched missiles with a range of 500 to 5,500 kilometers. President Donald Trump said yesterday that Washington was starting a process to withdraw from the agreement in 6 months. Once-in-a-century flooding in a part of the eastern Australia state of Queensland looked set to worsen as authorities today warned of more heavy rain in the area. Residents in the coastal city of Townsville were evacuated from around 100 homes after days of monsoon rains lashed the region. Between 150 millimeter and 200 millimeter of rain is expected across Townsville, equal to about a month's average rainfall. Local authorities issued a number of flood warnings this morning and told residents to avoid using roads and consider moving to higher ground if conditions worsen. Egypt today announced the discovery of a collection of Ptolemaic burial chambers containing a large number of mummies in Minya, south of Cairo. Antiquities Minister Khalid Al-Anani revealed that the first discovery of 2019 included at least 40 mummies, of which 10 are thought to belong to children. The rest are adult men and women of different ages. The newly discovered tombs are all in good conservation and likely a family grave of members of Egypt's elite middle class living during the Ptolemaic dynasty that ruled Egypt from around 320 BC to about 30 BC. A joint mission from the Antiquities Ministry and the Research Center for Archaeological Studies of Minya University led to the discovery at the Tuna al-Jebel archaeological site in Minya. And now it's the time for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the most of the governorates with chances of low clouds and fog late at night and early morning over the coast of the Arabian Sea. Winds will be southeasterly to south light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. More detail on the screen. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Ministry of Interior will start tomorrow receiving electronic candidacy applications for Shura Council elections for the 9th term. Total outstanding credit stands at 25.1 billion Omani Riyals in November 2018. And in Duqm Electricity Generation Company signs 5 agreements to establish integrated electricity and water plant. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. From the entire news team led by Hilal Al-Maliki and English editor-chief Mohammed Al-Yahmadi, I'm Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubi'i, sign off for now.